everyone. I'm Linda Nickell, and welcome to the Happiness Hour. Tonight, my guest is John John Montelongo. John John is a paranormal investigator, urban explorer, and visual storyteller with a passion for dark and moody imagery, drawing inspiration from abandoned places, mysterious spaces, and the atmosphere hidden in shadows. John John creates photographs that are both haunting and beautiful. Rooted deeply in his Mexican American heritage and inspired by classic film photography, his work is presented primarily in striking black and white, giving each image a timeless and cinematic feel. Through his lens, John John captures more than scenes, he captures emotion, history, and the quiet beauty often overlooked in everyday life. You can find him on Instagram at John John Photos 33, and you can connect with him through his website at johnjohnphotos.wixsite.com. And I'll link those to the show notes below. In tonight's presentation, Obscura, Dark Things, Hidden Places, John John will talk about how to use light and shadow as storytelling elements, crafting images that are intimate, unsettling, and rich with narrative. Welcome to the Happiness Hour, John. I should say
Hey Heather.
Happiness Hour, John John. There's not enough Johns or too many Johns. All right. Well, thank you for coming in here and sharing your story. You're somebody that lives just, I guess, up the road from me. You're in
Mhm.
Temple, I think, or
Temple.
Belton. So that's about an
Yes.
hour north of Austin. And I
Mhm.
recently met him through the Texas Photography Festival. He was a featured photographer there this year. And anyway, we kind of had an exchange, and he asked if he could come on and share his work. And I don't say no to very many people. So I was happy to get him on the schedule. Um, I kind of glossed over your intro because I don't know that much about you, but if there's something you want to add, take a minute and fill in the gaps. And otherwise, we're going to try to switch over, and I'm going to run your program tonight. We were having some technical difficulties earlier, so I'm gonna drive, and you're going to tell me where to turn. But go ahead. Let me give you the screen.
No, so I'm a photographer of 22 years. I started, when I was young and kind of lost, well, not lost interest, but sports into my life. So I started wrestling and baseball and track and all that other stuff. So it just kind of mosey off a little bit, But then at the same time too, I'm a son of immigrants, so we did a lot of immigration work and stuff like that. So we really couldn't afford, the expensive cameras. But the one thing I did get was the throwaways. So we would go where we had a Kmart back then. So like whenever we went to Kmart or whatever it was, we just buy a camera and I would just go and just shoot stuff, toys, and whatever I was playing with, or maybe something we're from soccer practice or whatever it may be. But that's how I kind of got into it. But then what really made the difference was me going into middle school. And in one of my homeroom classes, they had the National Geographic magazines there. They were just, I mean, they had piles of them. And of course, for some of our projects, we had to cut out, certain things. So that's what they used them for. But for me, it was just looking at the photographs and was able to see what was actually going on in those photographs is what made a difference for me. So, I mean, for me at that time, I could just really tell the story without really having to read the long articles that they had. So, like, as a seventh grader, you're like, I don't really want to read that long. And on top of that, some of the National Geographic, they had a lot of detailed and all this other stuff that I was just not really for. But looking at the photographs, it was just, this is a whole nother level for me and opened so much things for me. Um, Now, the other aspect is I'm a storm chaser as well. I've been storm chasing for 17 years now. And I traveled all over the United States trying to catch tornadoes and lightning and clouds and floods. And the other part of it too is just really helping people, who are in need in natural disasters, So that's another thing why I do it. And then the other stuff is I'm a paranormal researcher, and that aspect of my life, I have been literally involved in it for like my entire life, So most people say, well, we grew up in haunted houses, and it seemed like everywhere we went was haunted. And later on, I kind of find out maybe it was kind of just us as the family, as us who we were the people that were haunted, So no matter where we went, it was just seeing shadows, seeing weird things, hearing weird things, just being watched, whatever feelings that you may get when you're walking to a weird house. That's what I got, just what I lived on,
Okay.
so that's
Well,
just how I grew up.
well, I'm going to tell you, I got I believe it was a text or was it a message during, it was a direct message from someone who was in this room and said, she said, I am so excited about this session. So let's go ahead and get started. Like I
Okay.
said, I'm going to drive. Y'all be patient with me because I'm not sure what I'm doing either. So let me share my screen.
Okay, cool. So obscura, dark things, hidden places. I usually, when I do presentations, either like when I'm showcasing my work, photo galleries, whatever it may be, or just art galleries, I tend to stay with like Latin because of the stuff that we do. As far as the paranormal side is concerned, so like we are a type of team. Let me get into that real quick so you understand where we're going. So we are a type of team that does residential cases. That solely means that we go and actually help people who are in need of help with either something supernatural in their home or something on them personally. But we are a faith-based team, so with that, learning Latin and learning prayers in Latin has been something that we have always been, put into our work. So naturally, I like to put that into my photo work because it is something, very sacred, and that's how I view my photography. So the beginning, um, pretty much, I do have to say that um, I'm not very much a equipment type of person, nor am I a tech type of person. Um, for some reason, I can sit there and read books and sit down in classes, but some that information doesn't stick with me. So through the process of what we're going to go through, I'm going to show you how I actually started to learn more of how my style was and how everything just kind of goes with what I do, and not still try to be so technical because like I said, I can't hold that information very well. So it just I had to learn how to shoot certain things certain ways, and this is kind of how everything kind of just started. You can go ahead and move on. As you can see, early in the beginning, um, this was kind of like my first man, this is like my first 3 years of shooting. Even back then, I really didn't know where I was at as far as a photographer. So, of course, once you first pick up a camera, you're shooting every single thing under the sun. So it's like, but for some reason, I always liked the silhouettes. I always liked the mystery of that. I've always liked how there's something there, but you still got to really think about like what's really there, So I always kind of had that love for the light and shadow, but just didn't really know in what aspect and which way to go with my work. You can move on to the next one. And same thing here. Early on, going to graveyards and stuff like that, and not really shooting actually the tombstones, but kind of capturing the silhouettes, kind of capturing the past is what I felt like I was wanting to do. And this is like I said, this is very early in my work, so like I'm still messing around with color. I'm still trying to figure out, what I want to do and how I want to shoot it. But I knew I kind of already liked the silhouettes and the lights and the blacks and just the mystery of all of it. Move on, please. And like I said, the same thing, just silhouettes, and then capturing that the dark clouds, the big trees. I mean, I'm from Oregon, so trees are a big thing for me. So I have it tattooed on my arm. So I mean, it's just something that I use for actual for the paranormal as well. Some people may like to ground themselves as far as like putting their feet on the grass or whatever it may be. I've always been like the type that just went to a tree and was a literally tree hugger, so to speak, and went to put my hands on the tree bark and just kind of let that energy cycle through me, whatever I was feeling, after a case or just something bad that day. That's how I would ground. So like trying to capture trees and trying to capture the silhouettes of trees has always been something there in my early work. And of course, this here was just a happy little mistake. I was just at shooting a concert, and they had this little weird bridge that was going across a little stream, and the sun was poking out, and storm clouds were coming in, and I just seen the opportunity to take that photo, and I didn't see him at first, but he started. I guess the father and son just started walking across the bridge, and I was like, that's the photo that I want. So, I just took the opportunity to get that, and that was the outcome for that. You can move on, please. Now, this thing too. Once again, you can see the light and you can see the darkness around it, but I also wanted to showcase the graffiti there. Um, Back in my high school days, I had a friend from Los Angeles who was big into graffiti and just showcasing how he liked to write with his, as far as graffiti skills, and he used to draw and stuff like that. So that kind of just came with the territory, as far as like being friends with him, because I guess his Los Angeles Chicano swag kind of rubbed off on me, and I'm from Oregon, and I mean, Los Angeles and then Oregon from Lebanon. We grew up listening to like Pearl Jam and all that other stuff and Nirvana, while he grew up listening to more Chicano rap. So like that influence on me right away when we were in high school. But I always loved the graffiti and the colors to it. So, but of course I put my spin on it and how just the light just is there, but then the darkness is just around it. I just love this photo because of that. You can move on. Okay. Um, Now this one, this is when I actually started playing around with like wildlife, but I wanted to capture it in different ways, and this is just one of the ways I really love to showcase it, because it was still kind of like in my weird mystery phase, as far as like, can you guess what's going on here? So I wanted to put like all the innocents in the front, meaning all the little spider babies, just sitting there and all that other stuff. But what's laying beyond that is the mother who is looking at me and saying, "Oh, what are you doing?" And it's like danger is behind the hill, so to speak. And I don't know. I always loved this photo. It gives people the creeps because, of course, there's spiders, and I'm not a fan of big spiders at all. So, it's just, I don't know, that I guess that's why I love it, because I was brave enough to put my camera so close to it. I didn't really have like a macro type of lens. So I had to put literally my face almost as close to the nest as possible. Meanwhile, I'm keeping another eye out for the mom spider just sitting right there, ready to jump at me. So, that's just one for the books, I guess. You can move on, please. This is kind of like my take on the flowers. So I know a lot of people liked when they start to be, when they start in the beginning, they take photo flowers and stuff like that. And um, I kind of just wanted to go a different way, because I coming from my background, you know, and I hate to sound like all, sad and stuff like that, but capturing these type of photos, when the flowers are almost nearly at, drying out and ready to move on to the next phase, and you can kind of see how the spider web is there and it's still supporting life and all this other stuff. That kind of just what I really look for, as far as like taking photos of like flowers and stuff like that, and just the colors back then. I always looked for colors as well, and I always wanted to showcase a little mysteryness to it. Um, but that's one thing that I always try to capture and look for. You can move on. Same thing with this one. I was playing around with landscapes. This is in oh my gosh, Garden of the Gods in Colorado. Um, I guess we were on top of the road that kind of goes by it, and I climbed up to the top of one of those mountains just to take this photo because of how everything looked. But there's nothing really there. But I mean, it's just the landscape of it, just the awe of what God creates is what I wanted to showcase. But um, if you look closely enough, you can kind of see there's like little people just kind of walking around all the way to the hiking trails and stuff like that. But this is just something that I loved to do back then, was just going out into the mountains and just finding stuff. This one, um, I call this one the Adams house, just because it's pretty self-explanatory. Um, it literally took me 2 years to get this photo, simply because like I was seeing someone in Longview or Tyler, so as I can say, and I was going back and forth for 2 years and 2 years, and every single time I would go past that house, it was like this is not the right opportunity. This is not the right opportunity because it was either super dark when I was passing through it, or it was just high noon and it just didn't really look that great. But the day the day that we broke up, I was headed over there early, and the sun was literally just coming up as I was hitting the house, and I was like, "This is it." And luckily, I mean, this is why I learned you got to keep your camera on you at all times. But I mean, the sun was coming up, and it literally just painted everything there, just like a portrait. And I was just like, "This is the opportunity. This is the opportunity." It got all pulled over, and I took several shots, but this is the one that kind of stood out the most. You have that big buzzard that's sitting up top, just kind of waiting for me. And a lot of people think this is like an AI generated or somebody painted it, but this is not. This is straight photo. Now the story behind this one is I did win a photography contest with this photo. Shortly after that, a woman from UMHB had bought a big print from it, and then I guess one of her coworkers who worked for this is in Cossie, Texas. This house doesn't look like this anymore, but a lady from Cossie, Texas wanted the same identical print, the same width and everything. So went ahead and got it for her. Next thing you know, I got a call from the historical society from Cossie, and they were just like, "Hey, we really love this photo. We have it hanging up in our historical location, and you pretty much inspired us to renovate the house." And from then on, they just went ahead and went full blast, and they did the whole thing all over again. And now it's like pink and white or something like that now, so it doesn't remotely look like this anymore. But yeah, this is my pride and joy. Oh, so this one here, this is once again playing with camera, playing with leaves and stuff like that. And this photo was kind of one of my first ones that I ever won anything with, and I forgot what kind of camera it was, but it was like one of the cheap rinky-dink ones that I was playing around with. But I loved it because the red in the background kind of goes with the green, and then you can kind of see the dew on the leaf and stuff like that. I mean, this is almost like this is one that I really don't showcase a lot, because my work from this until what I'm doing now is completely different, but it just still amazes me with the type of photos that I used to take with the equipment that I did have, and then I always tried to push my camera to the limits to see how far I could go, and for that type of camera I forgot which one it was, but this is what the most I can get out of it. You can move on to the next. All right, black and white. So my black and white journey kind of started with me taking a 35 millimeter class and Temple College. Um, I just really wanted to kind of know the camera a lot more, as far as settings and all that other stuff. Because, like I said earlier, I can read a book and it's still the information doesn't hold. So I actually have to physically touch the camera and be involved in order for the information to stick with me. So during that process, what I actually took out of that class was the understanding of light and shadow and natural light. You when that really struck with me like really hard, and of course, this is at a boxing gym, so I used to do MMA and I used to box and all that other stuff too. So one day I was just in there and after training, and I just kind of saw that light coming in, and I'm Mexican American, so that kind of went hand in hand. You can move on to the next, please. This was in Silver Falls State Park in Oregon. This one just really, I don't know, just it just looked really crazy to me because it almost looked like a spider. So, and then it was already dark, kind of already because the sun was already setting, and it just kind of allowed that natural light to come in and just made it eerie. Just had to take it because to me it just reminded me like a big spider just waiting. The football one is just kind of like I was just taking photos of my son's football team, and this is when they went to qualify for state. Um, he was just pacing. This is the quarterback, so he was just pacing back and forth, and he was just so nervous. And he caught me looking at him, and I just took the opportunity to take it. And once again, the silhouette is right there for me. You can move on. This is my dad, and he passed away in 2019, I believe, 2016. Um, sorry. He would always like sitting in his favorite chair, and he would just drink his coffee. And I don't know, that day he was just sitting there and just scratching his head and just thinking about what he was doing. And I don't know, just I just took that portrait of him, and it's hanging up on it's hanging in my walls right now. But yeah, it just I don't know. I just wanted to showcase that.
I'm glad that you did. That third photo is just brilliant. That light and that angle. Um, these are the reasons we take photos, John John.
Yeah,
These are the reasons.
yeah.
All right.
Thank you. Modeling and music. This is just stuff that I was experimenting with. I would meet people randomly when I would host art shows and just meet people here and there. And I was like, hey, can I take your photo? And I would just experiment with just different styles. The Chris Black and Whites. I just love the way she looks in this one. Savannah, just like how the leading lions move in with it. And she was a newer model at the time, and she became one of my favorite models to use because she had this classy look to her, and very edgy as well because she's still classy, but she has all these tattoos, so I could just still use her on anything. But you can go ahead and go on. Sakura, this was just kind of an off, just a photo shoot that we randomly did, but I just love the way that the black and white looked on this one. Same thing, just Savannah, just being Savannah, and out in I forgot where we were in Killeen or on Fort Hood actually. And this was during Veterans Day. We just took the opportunity to take the pictures with all those American flags in the background. This is a photo shoot that I did for Lucy. We were just experimenting with Halloween type things, and this came out as far as like the photos, but then it got picked up on Instagram, and it got viral pretty quickly through the actual brand who used the brand from the smoke bombs, and they reposted it and they used it and stuff like that. So something out of nothing came out. Something came out of that. So it was cool. This was just an impromptu photo shoot that we did way out in Barring College Station. We almost got eaten alive by a black cat that was sitting out there. But gotta pay what you can pay for when we're doing some art. But you can move on. Same area. We were in some abandoned house that we got some permission to go into. But I don't know what type of weed that was, but that whatever that was, it was like standing about 6 foot tall. And we had that mask made, and then all her outfit was made too. And we just kind of put her in there and just kind of made it seem, more like a horror movie, so to speak. So you can kind of see the foreground that's sitting there with her, almost like kind of like eye level. So you can kind of like put yourself in that position, in that space to say, oh, what am I looking at? You can move on. This was an act. This is a mineral wells and a haunted location. During the photo shoot, I had a lot of stuff going on. You can hear tapping, you can hear footsteps, and all this other stuff while we're doing these photos. Um, it was just something that they needed for photos as far as like the haunted location was going because they had like a haunted house in there. But yeah, I just threw a lighting in back of her right away and just kind of used the silhouette. But yeah, we were hearing voices and taps and all that other stuff during the photo shoot. This was just an experiment as well. This is the band that I was working with. She was from the first girl that happened earlier, that showcase earlier. They actually use this for an album cover and also for their album posters and stuff like that. So just a little experimenting with natural lighting. Um, I forgot what band was this. This is from like a long time ago. But then again, there's the light, there's the dark shadows. This is where my love for the black and white and the light and shadow started coming into play more. Just highlighting his face and the guitar and what's going on behind him, his hair going all crazy. That's kind of what I wanted. That emotion that you're there with him. While he's playing. You can move on. Um, this was at a concert, a Snoop Dogg concert. Just celebrities that I was taking photos of. You can move on. Vanilla Ice. I took this one when he actually, I was standing underneath him when he popped, I guess, some champagne or something like that. So when it all sprayed out, all the light got thick, and then they released fog at the same time. And of course, I'm sitting right there, and then all of that light and everything just started coming into play, and I took that, and that's the result of it. Just something unique. Little Joe when he was performing here in Temple. You can move on. Too short. You can move on.
Yeah, I'll flip through these pretty quick because they're all basically very similar.
Yeah,
But if there's a story you want to jump in on, that I'll definitely stop it.
I got you. Just Alan Jackson doing his thing. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to show you like the light that I use or trying to use when I'm actually shooting like concerts and live stuff is what I'm trying to show, what I'm looking for, what I'm looking at, basically than just your simple portrait shots. Um, is what I was after for that one. Storm Chaser, you can go ahead and move on. This is kind of like the first time I started shooting supercells. What I was looking for, they get really, really big. So I learned right away that you got to have a wide angle lens. You can move on. The squall line, that was in Colleen. Lightning hit that time, so it literally brought up the whole sky. So I was able to take that shot. Uh, that little tornado was getting ready to touch down, and we were probably about 100 yards from it. It doesn't look like it, but we were like super close as it was getting ready to touch down. You can move on. Just some. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. Yeah, so that one right there, that was coming out of Temple. Um, I was getting ready to chase that one too, but then it turned around on me where a place I couldn't go. But I just wanted to showcase the black and whites and the dark grays that I'm looking for when I'm storm chasing to photograph these storms. This was in Franklin. So this one, I do have a story with it. You can kind of move a couple frames in. So right there, we you can't really tell in this photo, but we were a couple of cars down, and we were chasing this tornado coming out from College Station going into Franklin. It blocked us because it threw some trees onto the road, and as we made our way around, we came across another road that was kind of going high into like a little mountain. And as soon as we turned the corner, you can kind of see the the destruction that the tornado hit, and you can kind of see that the cut of the outline. And all these trees were on top of cars and everything. Like we were literally the first ones there. So right away we did a search and rescue, and we searched and rescued for like almost 5 to 6 miles, going all the way up into the mountain. Um, this person right here, I don't know if I ever found out if she was related to the person that we found on the mountain. And it was as we were doing search and rescue, we had seen this trailer got lifted and thrown probably like almost 200 yards. And one of our search and rescuers called me over and asked for help. And as I went up there, we had seen this person that was laying on the ground. And this was like literally the first time that I've ever seen what a severe storm can do to a person, if you're not ready for it. But as we coming down, we walked across the street, and she is calling and crying, and we don't know who she's calling or anything like that. Because I didn't want to intervene, because I'm just a storm chaser, so I'm not going to give any type of information that could be wrong or devastating to her, or not read what she's ready for. So, I, being a photographer, I just took the opportunity to get that, because it's real life. It's happening right now in front of you, and that emotion is there, and you can kind of see what she's going through with her phone on the side of her hand, and she's just worried about how come nobody's picking up. What's going on? Is my family alive? So I mean, that's just a photo that I wanted to take. Go ahead. That's the colored version, so you can kind of see. These next ones are taken in the Philippines. While I was up there, I just kind of walked around. Had a tour guide with me, and she showed me some of the places where that right there, that big building, that's like the American Embassy, and you can see these two people right here. So she's pregnant, and she's bathing in the seawater to get clean. Meanwhile, what she's stepping on is just litter, like trash, uh, rotten stuff that's just sitting there, and she's just in that water, just cleaning up while she's pregnant. Her husband is right there. The American Embassy is right there, and then these are her kids. And that sidewalk that's behind them, they actually have they dug like a little cave, and so they actually sleep underneath the sidewalk right there. Um, it's the little boy on the right hand side on the far right. He's disabled. The little boy in the middle, he was also sick as well. And then the little guy over here on the left. The funny thing is, I wasn't prepared, but when I walked on him, you could see the little camera in his hand, and he took a photo of me. Even though it didn't work, he took a photo of me, and I took a photo of him. But the film that I used didn't turn out right. But it just opened up your heart really, 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 really bad, So left a mark on me. Go ahead. So that's her right there. That's the mom. And you can kind of tell, you can see all the litter right there, all the trash that's coming in, onto the shore and everything. And she's just looking off in the distance, off into the ocean. Now we're getting into the paranormal stuff. So this is 70 acres. So all this work here is all my recent stuff. And this is when the paranormal aspect and my photography started coming into play, because I finally figured out how I could take photos. The few photos, so I was talking about, this is where I kind of started finding my niche, as far as bringing the supernatural into my work. It probably doesn't sound too hard, but it took a long time to really figure out how I wanted to shoot, where to shoot, what angles, what mood, and stuff like that. So the reason why I started shooting like this was because I was starting to use more emotional uh, and feeling and stuff like that every time I would go into a location. And it was just give me different vibes. So like the technical side of things couldn't really help me anymore, because I was already getting out of that aspect of just like, what, technical, being technical, knowing the f-stops, knowing the ISOs didn't really work for me. It was just, okay, the emotion for this room is this way. So I would either make it dark, or I would make it light. I would just find a different angle. You can move on to the next one. And this house, and this, I mean, that in particular was taken in Mineral Wells and the Nazareth Hospital. This is just, some stuff that I was playing around with, but you can even still tell the mood that's behind it, that what I'm going after. This was in Waco too. I mean, just the lighting in general is what I'm looking for, but all these locations are haunted and have some type of story to tell. So I'm there trying to capture that story, whatever it may be, whatever it's telling me, I'm trying to get it. This is in Temple. This is at the Han Hotel, which now you can stay in, but at this time it was completely abandoned. Nobody was in or out of it. Everything was locked in, and they gave me special permission to go in there and get some photographs. The first time that I walk in, I just kind of say out loud, "Hey, is anybody here? You want to take some photos with me? I'm here right now, so let's do it." And I kind of walked around the corner, and that teddy bear was just sitting on the staircase, just looking at me. So I was like, "Oh, that must be a welcoming, like, hey, come just take some photos together." So I took that photo of that bear just sitting right there in that abandoned hotel. This was around 2 o'clock in the morning, just kind of walking around in some fields and stuff like that while doing some cases. And full moon was out, and some cloud coverage came around, and just kind of gave me this gift right here of this tree. And I don't know, a lot of people just love the moodiness of it. I just kind of just like the overall Halloween aspect, creepiness of it. So I mean, it just means a lot. Go ahead. So the Ghost Diner. So this one here actually has a ghost in it. A lot of people can't see it, but the next slide you will be able to see it, and it's right there on the left side window. It's on like on the curtain. So the story with this one is I kind of, as soon as I saw this place, I have this thing of just walking up to the front door, knocking on it, asking if anybody's here, and if anybody's here would like to take a photo, I'm gonna stand in front of the yard and take a photo. So I went ahead and did that. I didn't really see anything at the time, but when I went back to my house, I was playing around with this paper from New York. It's called like pearlized paper, and it literally pops out all the black and white. And as I'm checking for ink blotches, I'm looking around. I come across the face, and I was like, "Whoa!" And that kind of gave me chills a little bit. And I was like, "What is that?" And I went immediately to my laptop, and I zoomed in, and you can kind of see the face there, and the whole dress, and the long black hair. And I'm like, "Oh, I caught something there." So that was literally my first ever my first ever ghost photo. This was just an abandoned ranch house that we found somewhere. I forgot, in around Temple. It was just weird because it was like at 12 o'clock at night, and I had my flashlight, and I'm just looking around, and I saw these eyes, and I was like, "Whoa, what is that?" And I don't know. It's like some old newspaper, but for some reason the eyes just stayed there, and just took the opportunity for the photo, and it just looks super creepy, even though the place was haunted. But yeah, this is in Yorktown Memorial Hospital in Yorktown. Um, I just love this photo because everything is completely abandoned on it, decaying and all that other stuff, but there's still beauty there, and that's what I wanted to capture. Besides what's going on physically there, I just wanted to capture the beauty aspect of what's actually there, what's hidden there. This one, the crosses. For, for a while now, every time I go into an abandoned place, I always find crosses. Always find them, on walls, wherever they may be. But this one in particular was at the Nazareth Hospital in Mineral Wells, and I went up to the straight of the top, and it was just overlooking all the entire town. So I just love that photo of it. Just showcasing the cross. This is one of my earlier photos, but it's still one of the ones that impact people the most. Um, Nothing really supernatural with it, but a lot of people, the one person in particular who approached me, told me that she was going through some chemotherapy. And the reason why she was going through some chemotherapy is because um, she had saw this photo online, and it gave her like an inspiration to actually move forward, to actually move, because she felt like there was a light at the end of the tunnel that she was going through. So she kind of just really took that to heart and contacted me and just wanted to buy the photo because of that. But for her, it just gave her so much inspiration just to go ahead and just go ahead with chemotherapy. And she's doing better. I mean, I keep up with her, but she's doing a lot better now, and she's wonderful. In Pampa, this is like so-called the portal that they have over there. So I just went over there, and there are just birds flying all over me, all over the top. So just took that opportunity. Philippines, on top of volcano. um, Went all the way up there, and the funny story with that is I am scared of horses. It's like I do not get near them. And we crossed that little ocean to get to this volcano, and I was like, "Oh yeah, I mean, I'm good for a hike." And I see the long hike. I'm like, "I could do this." And then they bring out they bring out some donkeys, and they're like, "Okay, you got to get on this so we can go all the way up." And I told her, I was like, "I am not getting on that thing." She got me on there, and as we're going up, there's literally like maybe a 6 foot gap between the trail and all the way down. And I was like, I don't trust this thing at all. So I just got off and walked the rest of the way. And when I finally walked the rest of the way, this was sitting at the top. and just the just the presentation of the sun and the clouds and the overlook, it was just there for me, and the silhouette was there for me. So, just got to capture it. This was a book cover that I was doing for a friend of mine. This was in Yorktown Memorial Hospital. She kind of wanted like the whole going crazy kind of theme, insane asylum kind of thing. And like I said, I love to work with natural lighting, and that's all I ever use. If it works sometimes, and sometimes it won't. But to this day, it just got the feel of what we were looking for. This was 70 acres. So this was in Temple. This one was a crazy, crazy, crazy investigation. So this is literally the first time I ever took this photo in this house. And of course, I walk into the building. I ask if anybody is here and if they would like to take a photo for me. I count to three, 1, 2, and on 3, that curtain flies open like it's waving to me and says hi. So of course, you got to take anything you can get that you think that there's something there. So I took the opportunity. I took that photo, but we spent almost 2 weeks investigating this property, and we got everything from disembodied voices to things moving around, people getting touched, people's hairs getting pulled. You name it, we got it there at this location. Now it's tore down, and I believe they're going to put a water plant there now. Storm chasing. This one is called It's Coming, and simply because it reminded me of the Never Ending Story. The I forgot what it's called. Oh my gosh, can't think of it. It's like the nothing. There you go. The nothing is coming, and these trees are just don't know what to do, and they're just looking at it while this thing with the clouds looks like a hand and it's just crawling towards them. It's to me, it's very. I don't know. There's a lot there that you can take from this photo, but it to me it just seems like that. There's something that's coming that it's overtaking the world. Go ahead. This is experiments. So this was with the toy camera as well. I was trying to photograph light, shadow, and me being involved in there, and just try to get some different aspects of stuff. And these are the results. Same photo, but only difference is, so what's in the background there? In that background is my actual place where I host all of my haunted items. All of my haunted items are in that back room right there, which is why I have like this weird. I mean, I don't know why I have 2 white eyes there, and I don't know why I have that weird hat that's going on top of my head. It's just weird compared to the last one. And right next to my left shoulder is my haunted doll that's sitting right there. So that could be a reflection of something else as well. You can move on to the next one, please. Experiments as well, just playing with light and shadow, trying to get something different, playing with different cameras, playing with different settings, just trying to get something emotional that I'm trying to photograph. It looks a little weird because you can kind of see the ground, but then you see the light pole, and then the light that's going on is the actual moon, So, and this is straight out of camera. This has nothing in. This is not photoshopped or anything like that. So I like to just shoot as it is and move on and go from there. Dia de los Muertos, and you can see the play with the light and shadow as well, and the skull right there on her face. We're getting to my most recent stuff. This is in Yorktown as well, and this is just all haunted little baby dolls sitting in this room that's locked up apparently. This was in Mansfield. This was actually taken a couple of weeks ago, and supposedly this building is haunted, and just playing around with experimenting with light and all that other stuff. And this was taken at 4:00 in the morning, I believe. So I was just walking around the streets alone and just trying to capture what I can capture. And this is just one of the results of it. This one's kind of weird. This was at the Art House in Mansfield as well. Once again, I was trying to capture just the lights and the little shadows that were moving on the wall because of all the cars that were coming in, were making weird shapes. We did capture some voices inside this room as well. I don't know if I'll ever be able to duplicate what that is, that light that's coming out of the front door there. While everything else is in focus. I tried to do it and I tried to do it and I tried to redo it again and could not recapture it. But Yeah, that's pretty much it. That is the end.
So I have a question. Yorktown,
Yeah.
is it Yorktown, Texas by chance? We're
Yep. It
we're
is.
Okay. Because when you first said that, I thought, wait a minute, I know this story. My best friend is from
Mhm.
Yorktown, Texas.
Oh,
And
really?
I remember the first time I went to her little town
Hmm.
and she was giving me the 25-cent tour of this and this is the school. This is, our favorite florist. This is where you get really good, dried sausage. Oh, and that's where the insane asylum hospital is. And I'm like, what? So, one of these things doesn't kind of go with this little Mayberry town. So when you
Hmm.
said Yorktown, I thought, surely it's not. But
It is.
yeah, so I can't wait to show her this presentation. She's not a photographer. She has no interest in what we do as photographers. But when I
Yeah.
can tell her, there were quite a few photos of the inside of this hospital.
Hmm.
I think it'll get her attention. Um, one of the things that I did not know about you is about your
Hmm.
storm chasing. And personally, I was kind of blown away by those clouds, those storm clouds. So those are shots that those stood out to me in your
Yeah.
presentation. I want to thank you for coming and sharing and telling your story.
Yeah.
And for one, let me go back to the photo of your father.
Hmm.
That was a beautiful photo. And
Thank you.
um, that's just something you get to keep. And
Yes.
that's why we take photos, John John. The rest of it is just what we do for fun. As
Hmm.
photographers, we need to photograph more things that we love. And
Hmm.
I'm glad that you found a spot for his photos to go in there. All
Thank you.
right. So next week, Brennan Nickell will be here to share her presentation, Intro to Astrophotography and the Effects of Light Pollution. So y'all have a good night, and we'll see you next week.